where we informed
All
at the
from the same.
same time.
Right. And then so from my understanding, overstanding, that King James and them didn't bring the Bible at first. They came in 1607, and then they said, "Oh, we got to come up with something that we can enslave them with." And it took them 4 years later, with 1611, when they came back with the joint. Then they come back with the joint really heavy till the like after that. You know what I'm saying? A couple of
Well,
years
you got
later.
to keep in mind. Okay, so at this time,
Harder.
nobody's bringing no religious books yet. We in
Nah.
full throttle warfare with Spanish exiles,
Yeah. Yeah.
with French exiles,
Yeah.
with English outcasts.
Yeah.
Remember, they try to tell us that the colonies was made up of English outcasts,
Yeah. Convicts
the
and poor immigrants.
prisoners, the prostitutes from the
Yeah.
brothels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who owned but during the Moorish reign, who owned the brothels?
The Moors.
Think about that for a minute. So if the brothels was owned by the Moors, then who owned the prisons?
The Moors.
Had to,
Yeah.
because they were supposed to be the civilized ones on the land, teaching the other ones how to be civilized.
Right.
But they ain't teaching them civilization, because we know that because they had jails over there, and they had prostitutes over there, and they had orphans over there that they was trying to dispose of.
Go ahead.
How do we know that? Because they said that they came over here with their indentures who was exiles from the crown to work the land,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How you gonna work somebody else's land? Make it make sense.
Right.
How
Go
you gonna
ahead.
get us? How you gonna get us in there where the people who landed is not gonna rebel,
Yeah.
right? We gonna hire you as a consultant firm, right? So they tell the story to move them in and give them Big Mama Farm.
Yeah.
But all the time, the people that's giving them the farm is the ones who's selling the land, not the people from the land.
Right.
Right. And they're using the paperwork as the verification of their right to do so. But it's only one problem. All of the tribes over here was matrilineal and didn't believe in selling land.
That's right.
So when we understand that part of it, we know that anybody that's selling land for any reason other than deception and force, which is 99% of the reason. And if they was forced into selling the land, or if they was defrauded into it by using trickery and deception through sharecropping agreements,
That's
we
right.
know from that paper trail that the sharecroppers, where they get the land from.
Right.
When you go back, you could Google this. The most heirs land in America right now is owned to African Americans, as they call us.
Go ahead.
How do we got heirs land and we ain't never been allowed to buy no land until the 1970s? They wouldn't let us buy land. They wouldn't let us sell land, trade land. They wouldn't let us in none of their learning institutions or higher learning. So they doing all this in our face, behind our back.
Right.
And we got to figure out how to take them over while they trying to take us over.
They said that on that. It's a tape that I got coming out about the Lewis and Clark expedition, and they said that when they came through, there was people on. It was some people on the land, and then they came to them, knocked on the door, and then they come to him and say, "Look, man, if you can either sell this land." And they're like, "Oh well, I don't sell. We gonna sell land. We don't even know what that is." And then
Hold on. You overlooking what you're saying.
yeah,
Look, they had a translator, didn't they?
yeah, Ben York,
And who was he talking to that he needed to translate the language for Lewis and Clark?
the Native Americans.
And how far across the land did they go before they turned around and came back?
They went all the way up until Washington. past Oregon, Washington, all the way up into Seattle.
Ain't that the Pacific coast over there?
Yeah, they went all the way
Okay.
to the Pacific coast.
And they needed a translator at several places between, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I
Someone
mean,
told the people.
it had to be people. It had to be people there.
Yeah,
It had to be. You don't need
yeah.
a translator to go across a barren land that don't got no people.
Well, damn sure right. He had a dog with him too. Ben York had a dog, and he had an assistant. Ben York had an assistant with him, like because Ben York was like a hunter, like, and he was real charismatic. You know how the Moors, they think they playboys or whatever. But this another thing it said that was interesting. It said that Lewis and Clark told them that you can stay here on the land, but you got to sign this paperwork saying that you changed your status, and we'll let you stay on the land. Pretty much, they went around turning all the natives that was on the land into sharecroppers, and by stealing
That
their
was
birth.
okay. So that was the North American salvage right.
Okay, go ahead.
You gotta remember that when they said that we crashed, we had to crash. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Oh yeah, it did say something about that too, about the savage rights and the abandoned land.
Right.
Yeah,
Because Lewis and Clark were surveyors,
that's right.
right? And being York was more than a surveyor.
Yeah,
He served as the official translator on record, but he was the actual operative um
Mason.
geologist, geometrist, geologist on the land.
Right. He could tracker. He was a good tracker.
They tell you all the stuff he could do when you read
He had a hound dog.
you know, they tell you a lot about him and they don't use his name.
Yeah.
Why do they, we know who it is, but when they telling the story, they always say the black slave.
Yeah. Yeah. Enslaved man.
Who was the slave master of being York?
They said it was Lewis and Clark. That's a lot of.
It's not possible.
Yeah, it's too many.
Because he was born, look, being York was born a free man of Negro descent as the son of Old York and his wife in Virginia.
Yeah.
Right? A free man. He was born a free man, and now he is the designer, the first almanac, because we know being Beta be Benjamin Banneker.
Right. I heard that story too. I heard that.
Right? That's who he is. Yeah. Now, the irony of it all is his fez is in the Fez Memorial at the George Washington Masonic Memorial as one of the dirty Moors that we've been fighting. And his offspring. Right? This is why they don't tell us who this is traveling across the land with Lewis and Clark in the Lewis and Clark story. But when we study the story of Benjamin Banneker and how he learned all of these languages by the time he was 21, and then we learned that he was the one who wrote the first almanac, made the first clock in North America. What the hell you mean clock when the Mayan clock been here for thousands of years? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what do you mean the first clock? Now we talking about tying in the clock of destiny with the Big Ben clock in London by tying Big Ben to the clock of destiny in America in the Moorish paradigm. They telling you exactly who they are, but they telling them that they hiding among you.
Look, so you thinking that because 1806 is when they said they get a storyline. I got the whole storyline of Benjamin Banneker about to come out too. I already did the storyline already a long time ago. I'm just gonna redo it. But they said that in 1806, that the Knights of Templar raided his house, burned it down, stole some paperwork, whatever paperwork he had, and then they also said that he was working with George Washington as a secret agent for the British Crown. And it also said they make the timelines line up with what you're saying now about being York, because the Louisiana Purchase was in 1803. And so then it'd be 3 years later, he get took out by a Knights Templar. So I don't know who took him out. They said he took off walking. The storyline they give, he took off walking, and then he came down with some kind of illness and died the same day. I was like, man, these people, they tell us whatever, you know. But
yeah, and 9 out of 10, it was a poison dart.
Probably, yeah.
From an air gun.
Yeah.
Then the air gun probably traced back to some tribe out of South America.
Yeah.
We was calling all tribes on deck.
Yeah, Big York traced back to. Oh.
You right over there?
Oh yeah, keep going, Rod. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So the tribes that came from everywhere, from South America and the islands, to fight in the Gullah Wars. And they used a legal system in a fractional reserve banking system after they closed all of our stuff down to there's a hostile takeover. It was a military invasion that was masqueraded as government expansion. But it was actually territory expansion of a foreign agency, a foreign government across the land of the people. Yep.
Hey, Rod, we're gonna keep on. What I was gonna tell you. We're gonna take some questions for the crowd. Hey, y'all, drop your comments in the crowd real quick in the chat.
What'd you say, Elder?
I say we're at the hour and 30-minute mark. We could take questions from the crowd. But you've been going in tonight, man. You just gave me some stuff on some more connections while I was trying to connect it, Ben York and Benjamin Banneker, because I was gonna put that tape out. And so now you just gave me a couple.
That's who Ben York is.
Yeah, I heard that before, but now you just gave me the final piece that I need to tie in to put it together.
Mm-hmm. Look, who was the girl with Lewis and Clark?
That's what yeah. And who was the other dude that was with Ben York? The other black dude, or the other dude they said that was with him?
Look, Sacagawea was the girl that traveled with Ben York, right, and Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, he had a
she
son.
Had a son. And his son name was Jean-Baptiste, not Dusable, but it was something else. Jean-Baptiste. Oh, let me look it up.
And his son became chief, right? Of the Shoshone.
I'm about. That's where I'm going with this. I'm about to show y'all how the trick work.
Yeah, Sacagawea. They got a statue of her holding the baby.
Charbonneau.
Yeah.
Look, his name is Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau. Right? That's supposed to be her son with Ben York. Right now, the city of Chicago, which was there it's been there for thousands of years, but they credit it with a Jamaican, a Haitian dude, named Jean-Baptiste Dusable. Right? It's still in his identity. And they're using Charbonneau to do it. Because Charbonneau also was a resident of the territory that gave birth to the modern city of Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And they telling the Jean-Baptiste Dusable story because he could have been appointed by Sacagawea to the land right of the territory.
Right.
But he can't tell nobody he being York's son, because if they find out he being York's son, they know he's an imposter and an interloper.
Go ahead. Makes sense.
So they assigned it to this priest, a voodoo priest out of Haiti, and they changed his name. That ain't his birth name, wasn't Jean Baptiste du Sable. Jean Baptiste du Sable mean, the sable mean black. It means John the Black Baptist is what it means.
Damn.
Right? And the name Charbonneau, let me look up the meaning of it so I can read it to y'all.
Shabazar. That sounds like it's connected to the tribe of Shabazz or something. Because being York would be connected to the tribe of Shabazz, being that he was supposedly a Moor from West Africa. Or well, his dad was from West Africa. His mother was from Barbados. If you're going with the
Now
mother
check
line.
this out. Now remember, his name is John Baptiste du Sable. Now watch this. Charbonneau is the surname of French origin given for a coal merchant, or as nickname for someone with a dark complexion.
Go ahead.
Right? It's the same name.
Black John.
John the Black Baptist. Right? And they give his 18. So he was born after Du Sable, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
But their name mean the same thing. And both of them tied to the city of Chicago. That's how you usurp. Remember, Enlil named his sons after Inky's sons when Inky started getting the upper hand.
That's right.
So that when the posterity fight for Inky's son, they think they fighting for Inky's son all the time. They fighting for Enlil's son.
That's right.
Right. And this is how you know the difference. It's the same story today played out as this was written in them tablets thousands of years ago. But if you don't know the whole story, you won't be able to see it being played in your face. As soon as you go back and get them old stories, now when they playing in your face, you be like, man, y'all did that shit 10,000 years ago. Can't you find some other kind of way to try to deceive me now? It's old.
Right.
It's tired now. I know you don't still think it's gonna work, but you still think it's gonna work again. Right. So once we see it, you can't unsee it.
So how do we treat the colonizers now? Like do we treat them hostile? Do we treat them like, hey, we know and we just ain't gonna say nothing?
Okay, so now we got to go to why all these people came over here. That's a whole nother story separate from the political dynamic. Now we talk about diversification of genetic fields. We talking about the establishment of bloodlines of the future using the bloodlines of today. Right? You talking about tying into the vine. You talking about grafting off the vine. You talking about establishing different seeds for different lineages to progenerate. They call it the one drop doctrine for a reason. And the story of the one drop doctrine is in the Sumerian tablets, is where Enki is telling them how to cure the genetics of the humans with the defects created by Enlil's son, trying to play God, not knowing what he was doing. Right? Nergal, they call him from Nibiru to help fix the problem. And they say, did y'all ask Tahuti and Enki? And they said, we don't want to ask them. He said, I can't help you. So they banished him to the underworld, where he meet a Rishkagal. The story is not different. It's the same metaphorical story played out today, but using different characters to play the story out in modern times. Right? You got the puppet master It's the same puppet master, even though the puppet is different. Right? He only got so many ways to play and pretend to be this particular puppet before it becomes you can recognize even when the puppet changed that the character the same.
Right. Hey, so I was wondering why they were so interested in Chicago, because they said it was, that's when Chief Pontiac, that's what really the kickoff, the beginning of the wars is with Chief Pontiac in the Michigan, Chicago area. And it seemed like to me they were trying to get tactical command of the water, the Great Lakes. That's a significant fresh water. I mean, that's a significant area right there for Native Americans in that land. So by starting with Chief Pontiac, and you come in as the embodiment of that spirit that was falling on men, huh?
Yeah, I gotta solve his beef.
Yeah, it started right there with the Moors, right
Yeah,
there with the Moors, the British Moors. Yeah,
and the French. It was
yeah,
primarily the French.
yeah.
You gotta remember, Detroit was the capital.
Go ahead.
The territory of Chief Pontiac stretched from Detroit to Chicago to Pontiac, Illinois.
Go ahead.
Right. We only had metropolises and villages. We didn't have sub-cities. Today, the tribes of the Flintstones, they still inhabit Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. We call them Flintstones is because they used to, not far from Flint, they used to mine Flintstone.
Go ahead.
This is where you get your cartoon characters from. Working in the rock mines. The rock mine became characteristic of the auto plants, and that's where the Union first started in Flint, Michigan. Right? It was triggered by the treaties of the Flint Indians with the Saginaw Indians and several other local tribes that people can't exploit you for your labor. This what gave rise to the labor unions. And the corporation, aka the government, hired corporate and the corporations, they hired protesters to protest the organizing of the labor force under the what's called guild principle, GUILD. The guild principle was where all of the people that work in the profession stabilize the value of their workload so that you can't be exploited, and I won't let